Thanks for joining us on TVC News this hour. President Muhammadu Buhari is currently presiding over the Council of State meeting at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The meeting started at 10 a.m. and has in attendance Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff to the President. Also in attendance are former heads of state Goodluck Jonathan, General Abdulsalami Abubakar and General Yakubu Gowon. The chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum is leading about 6 other governors physically present at the council chambers, while the others join virtually from their respective states. Before the commencement of proceedings, the Council of States observed a minute's silence in honor of former head of the interim national government, Ernest Shoneko, who died on the 11th of January. This is the 4th Council of State meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari this year. The meeting is expected to deliberate on important national issues, especially matters of security and the economy. Now, lawmakers have renewed calls for President Buhari to declare a state of emergency on the nation's security situation. They insist Nigeria is on the siege and should seek the services of mercenaries to supplement the efforts of security agencies in containing the situation. This follows the deaths of dozens of people gruesomely murdered in Plateau and Benue states by suspected bandits and killer herdsmen. Our National Assembly correspondent Jakadisa reports on this.
Almighty God, creator and ruler of heaven and earth.
Motions on insecurity from virtually every part of the country have become regular on legislative days here. On this day, 2 motions detailed the indiscriminate killings, rape, kidnapping, and destruction of property in Plateau and Benue states.
Nigerians are being killed on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker. The 4 angles of Nigeria, nowhere is safe. Mr. Speaker, what is beating my imagination more, aside of the killing, is who is responsible, not in terms of the people that are committing those atrocities. Nigerian governments have come out in different occasions to say they know them.
This matter has created fears among our constituents, and it poses grave danger in many ways, which could include negative reactions from our constituents.
It is a display of emotion, anger and frustration as members contribute to the 2 motions. They accuse some of the security agents of aiding and abetting bandits and renew calls for the sack of the National Security Advisor and the Minister of Defense.
It is so sad that we have come to a situation in this country where evil is perpetrated and no one is held accountable.
Cases where we understand that information were passed to the security personnel, and still these terrorists overcome the ordinary Nigerian people. This is a failed state.
The executive headed by Mr. President must know that Benue, our lives matter. We come here and we cry, and today again Benue is bleeding.
I don't know what argument anybody can give to insulate the security agencies in terms of doing their duty to ensure that this thing does not happen.
The House seeks relief materials for displaced persons and urges the presence of Joint Security Task Force in affected areas.
As part of solutions to the increasing wave of insecurity in the country, the legislators urged President Muhammadu Buhari to immediately invoke Section 83, subsection 1 of the Constitution for the release of contingency fund to enable the country that the services of mercenaries. Jakadisa, TVC News, Abuja.
It's now 8 years since hundreds of schoolgirls were abducted from the remote village of Chibok in Borno State, northeast Nigeria. On the 9th of April the 14th, 2014, Boko Haram militants invaded the government girls' college Chibok and kidnapped 276 girls, mostly aged between 16 and 18. Concerned citizens and civil society organizations are still appealing to relevant authorities to ensure the rescue of the remaining girls from their captors. Jesse Tafida reports.
14th April 2014 remains an indelible date in the nation's history. It is the day more than 270 girls were abducted from Government Secondary School Chibok, Borno State, northeast Nigeria. 57 of the schoolgirls were said to have escaped almost immediately after the incident. The terror group Boko Haram claimed responsibility for the abduction in a video released by their then leader, Abubakar Shekau, on May 5th, 2014.
Who are we?
Early negotiation brought a spark of hope. The 200 remaining girls will be released quickly, but this was quickly dashed.
This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education. And I want you to know that Barack has directed our government to do everything possible to support the Nigerian government's efforts to find these girls and bring them home.
All negotiation came to a standstill until 13th October 2016, when 21 out of the girls were released. The successful negotiations between the federal government and the militant group renewed hope that more of the girls will soon come out from captivity. Demands for the release of the remaining girls have been relentless since then, with little results.
They should sit down and strategize what is happening, that this particular thing is not coming to an end. And not only the Chibok girls, there are so many girls who are in captivity.
The Ministry of Defense working on safe school declaration to ensure protection of children in school are well protected.
So I want to use this opportunity to call on the government and relevant agencies to wake up to their own responsibilities to ensure that people's lives and property are protected.
The abduction of the Chibok school girls remain fresh in the minds of Nigerians. Several other abductions have followed, like the 110 school girls from Government Science and Technical College, Dapchi, in Yobe State. Concerned citizens are of the view that Nigerian authorities need to live up to their pledge of protecting the people and double up efforts to provide a safe learning environment for students in the country. Jasita Fida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Let's bring you stories from another issues, now to labor matters, where the Nigerian Labour Congress has intervened in the lingering disagreement between the federal government and unions in the tertiary institutions that has crippled activities in the nation's universities. The Congress issued a 21-day ultimatum to the government to resolve the issues with members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities, and National Association of Academic Technologists. This was contained in a statement jointly signed by NLC President Ayuba Waba and the Congress General Secretary Emmanuel Boaja. Mr. Waba expressed concerns over the failure of the government to honor its 2009 renegotiated agreement with them. He said after the expiration of the ultimatum, the NLC would decide on the next line of action if the government fails to resolve the impasse within the period. Let's move to other issues where lawmakers have renewed calls for President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency and security situations in the country. They insist that Nigeria is under siege. I think we gave you that story a little earlier. But then we'll talk about political matters where precisely the Independent National Electoral Commission says the date for all activities in the timetable scheduled for the 2023 general elections, including the conduct of party primaries, remains firm and fixed. INEC Chairman Muhammadu Yakubu affirmed these at the media briefing in Abuja. Our correspondent Abida Lawal has more on the story.
Already, 10 political parties have served notices to the Commission for the conduct of their primaries. With 51 days to the deadline for the conduct of primaries, political parties have been asked to adhere strictly to all dates in the timetable. This includes nomination of their candidate via the INEC portal. With this, political parties have a stipulated time to tidy up their primaries and present a candidate.
Such nominated candidates must emerge from valid primaries as provided in Section 84 of the Electoral Act 2022. This is necessary to avoid unhappy consequences of any breach of the Commission's timetable or the Electoral Act.
The Commission also expresses worry over invalid registration and promises to continue cleaning up the register to eliminate invalid registration and ensure that only those who should be in the register of voters are included.
Nearly 45% of the completed registrations nationwide are invalid, rising to as high as 60% or more in some states. This infraction happened in all states of the Federation. No state is immune from it. These invalid registrations will not be included in the register of voters.
It appeals to Nigerians who registered between June and December 2021 to collect their permanent voter cards in person. 1.8 million new permanent voters cards were unveiled, which will be ready for collection in all parts of the country. As of January this year, valid registration stands at 1,390,519, while invalid stands at 1,126,359. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, it's now 5 weeks to the deadline given by the Independent National Electoral Commission for political parties to conduct their presidential primaries and submit their nominations. Within this period, more people within the fold of the All Progressives Congress have continued to indicate interest in the nation's #1 seat. In this report, our correspondent Habida Lawal also reviews the aspirants and the challenges before the party ahead of its primaries.
The All Progressives Congress directed all its political appointees interested in contesting the 2023 general elections to be prepared to resign their positions in compliance with the new Electoral Act of the Independent National Electoral Commission. In the party, some political appointees have shown interest in contesting for the presidential position. For now, 8 aspirants have declared interest in running for president.
You've gotten that truth from me that I've informed Mr. President of my ambition.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, the national leader of the APC, one of the early birds to make his intention known. Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, Yaya Bello of Kogi State, Rochas Okorocha, a former governor of Imo State, Orji Uzor-Kalu, a former governor of Abia State, Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
I am today, with utmost humility, formally declaring my intention to run for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
If I say I will unite this country, believe me, I will do so. I'm not saying I will. I'm saying I've done that already. There's no part of this country or zone you will go without seeing my signature.
All attention is on the APC as to who will emerge the party's flag bearer, since whoever emerges the presidential candidate will determine the party's ability to hold on to power ahead of the People's Democratic Party's candidate. Although the APC is yet to officially announce any zoning formula for the position, the APC aspirants will know their fate by May.
The zoning will be to competence, capacity, drive, patriotism, a unifier, a bridge builder. That is where we are zoning it to.
The party is still torn between either zoning to the south or maintaining power in the north, bearing in mind who may emerge as the People's Democratic Party's candidate. Presently, President Muhammadu Buhari has appeared uninterested in who succeeds him, but past experience has shown that the president has a tendency to spring up surprises. For now, APC stalwarts are united in their resolve to win the presidential election come 2023, but the opposition PDP is equally determined to wrestle power from them. The vice president enters into the race has raised the stakes, but who gets the presidential ticket will be determined by critical blocs in the party. Although consensus is in view, for now, no one knows how it will go. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
And the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, says Nigeria needs a leader that will address the myriad of challenges facing the country. He stated these at a meeting held with APC serving and former speaker, as well as their deputies in the state houses of assembly. Abimbola Agbibi has more on this story.
It was a gathering of legislators, past and present speakers and deputy speakers from across the 36 states in the country. Convention Lagos to meet minds with the former governor of the state, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. This is coming days after he met with APC governors in Abuja. With Lagos being the host, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the Speaker of the Assembly welcomed the former governor to the party, which was themed The Legislature, Changing Times and Nigeria's Democratic Journey.
Asiwaju, our leader.
Asiwaju Tinubu, who further declared his intention to join the presidential race, describes himself as the most qualified for the top position.
As I name Nigeria needs me. In the face of tyranny, I have survived. Struggle for democracy. The twist and turn of it, I've endured the bush path, living without family, living in exile, financing other pro-democracy groups. With the sweat and my investment, I've contributed immensely, more than any other person running today.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu highlights when he was the first governor to grant autonomy to the State House of Assembly in the country.
To make Nigeria work is a task that not been done. Who could do it? I say I am.
Without much ado, the APC lawmakers threw their weight behind the former governor, pledging their support.
The judge has invited all people in that space, legislators, current, former, past, to seek, their cooperation, and because he feels that they are an important stakeholder, right, in his drive to actualize, its dream.
We strongly believe in his idea. We strongly believe in his vision. We strongly believe in his commitment, and that is why we are here today.
He has a great plan for Nigeria if he is able to get the chance.
The lawmakers are confident that the collaborative efforts between the legislature and the executive arm will bring about the desired results. Abimbola Agbebi, TVC News, Lagos.
Still talking political matters, Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, says the state will support only the aspirants who are judged to have the interests of the country at heart and the capacity to transform it. The governor made this clear when he received the former governor of Anambra State and the presidential aspirants on the platform of the PDP at the State Government House, Benin City. Paul Izenwa reports on this.
In preparation to the forthcoming presidential primary election of the PDP, Governor Obaseki has been playing host to different aspirants in his party, the PDP. Today is the turn of the former vice presidential candidate and former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, on a consultation tour to the governor and other stakeholders of the PDP. After a closed-door meeting, Governor Obaseki says the state will support only an aspirant who will always put the interests of the country ahead of its ambition to bring the needed policy that would improve the welfare of all Nigerians.
Any zone not considered as fit or has what it takes to provide leadership in this country, we are only setting a basis for crisis. So whatever you call it, we must have a situation where there is adequate consultation, where there are adequate consultations across the various groups, across the divide.
For the presidential aspirant, his intention to contest for the office of the president is born out of his desire to improve the economy and make life meaningful for the people of the country.
Enormity of the problem in this country today. That if not aggressively tackled from 2023, this country will not be there for all of us.
Peter Obi also met with party chieftains at the party secretariat. Edo State PDP chairman expressed worries over the deplorable state of economy in the country.
Somebody who has, for the past 7 years, chaired the National Economic Council, expressed his interest to contest for the seat His Excellency is also contesting for. This is a man that is supposed to superintend over the economy. An economy that he met at 9%, at inflation rate at 9%. It's about 15% now.
According to the INEC timetable, all parties must have concluded their primaries and candidates emerge before the 4th of June. Paul Izenwa, TVC News, Benin.
As Nigeria works to revolutionize its renewable energy sector, the need for skills development in the sector to meet the demand for employment has become more imminent. This is the reason behind Energize, a career fair for the clean energy sector organized by the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Associations Alliance, the EU and German governments in collaboration with GIZ and the Ministry of Power. Moyo Thomas reports.
The renewable energy sector is rapidly growing in Nigeria. This growth is creating opportunities for employment and a demand for skills in the sector. A project tagged Energize aims to establish an employability platform where professionals and renewable energy and energy efficiency actors can easily collaborate as it works to bridge the skills gap in the sector. The Minister of Power says there is already a gap of over 20,000 professionals in the sector.
The ministry is therefore glad to be part of this laudable initiative, which is the first of its kind and serves as a pathway to increase employability of professionals and in boosting employment for the youth in the energy/power sector and economic growth in the long run.
The renewable energy sector is a growing one which requires a skilled workforce. More specifically, over 250 renewable energy and energy efficiency companies are currently operating in Nigeria, and also we have about 100 operational solar mini-grids developed and operated by over 20 top developers, which is currently at the brink of expansion.
The European Union announced plans to contribute about 60 million euros to the sector before 2024. As it says, it has provided over 200 million euros grant already to the renewable energy sector. Nigeria needs new opportunities for job creation, considering that employment is already an alarming concern in the country. The renewable energy sector provides a solution to this, while also forging Nigeria towards attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals 7, 8, and 13. With the promises of renewable energy helping the country to meet the over 80 million unserved population, building skill set alongside this is also very important. Moyo Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
To Health Matters, a mental health initiative designed to provide psychological support through counseling sessions for a strengthened inclusion of youths with disabilities and their families has kicked off. The flagship project, tagged Unburdened Group Therapy Session, seeks to advocate and strengthen for better mental care for this selected group. Kemi Balogun reports on this.
There remain significant challenges in getting mental health care services in Nigeria, and these include policy development, financing, and the integration of mental health into primary health care. A World Health Organization report in 2006 revealed that 20 million Nigerians suffer from mental illness, and out of this number, a huge portion suffer without professional assistance. The disparity between available healthcare services and the need for mental health services is noticeable. This is why a non-profit organization is doing its own part to provide and improve psychological support for persons with disabilities.
Generally, mental health is a conversation that seems not to be taken seriously. The mental health of each and every one of us.
Like we say in Nigerian language, we're all in this together.
This inception meeting is to officially kick off the events that will include unburdened group therapy sessions and advocacy through storytelling and a walk for youths with disabilities across 2 states.
The knowledge is very poor. It's also a part of healthcare that is stigmatized. And one way for us to begin to make it much more prominent is by destigmatizing it. And a very important way of doing that is obviously improving knowledge, of people as far as mental health is concerned, what the causes are, what the types are, what people should do.
Then when you now bring it into mental health care for persons with disability, it's an even bigger problem, because a lot of times persons with disabilities are already facing stigmatization, discrimination, and exclusion.
The meeting is geared towards the need to reform and implement a better, accessible, and affordable mental mental health care service for those who need it the most.
There is a lot of room for improvement. There are lots of conversations we should be having. There are better policies that we should have. The barriers to accessing mental health care have to even be brought down generally, and with the mindset that persons with disabilities have unique experiences.
The therapy sessions will be done to meet the good health and well-being goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
And in Lagos State, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has reaffirmed his commitments to developing home movies production in the state. He made this pledge during the presentation of checks to the first batch of the beneficiaries in his zero-interest loan to movie practitioners. There is more in this report, and after this report, we have business stories for you.
Over the years, Nollywood has grown to more than a billion naira industry, accounting for over 1.4% growth of the Nigerian economy. But the part of the challenges facing the creative industry is in its funding. On this backdrop, the Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, introduced the Lagos Film Fund. It is an initiative aimed at providing interest-free loan to filmmakers. It is an initiative aimed at providing interest-free loans to filmmakers, and here are the first batch of beneficiaries. For the Lagos State government, this is a promise kept.
Today we are presenting the check for the beneficiary of the Lagos Film Fund. And this is what we are doing today to ensure that we present this check to them and appeal and advise them to make proper use of this fund, because it's a revolving loan, so that we won't shut the door to other people that need to access this fund.
The administration has as its 5th pillar of the theme's agenda, entertainment and tourism. We're poised to deliver on this. We're poised to support those in the creative industry, and this is what we're doing here today.
Some of the beneficiaries lauded the gesture, especially following the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the creative industry.
The importance of this is that the state government has injected funds into the industry, into the film industry. It's something that is very much needed.
For the first time in Lagos State, we are getting this kind of support for the film industry.
Yes, it is a loan, but interest-free loan. If you know what that means, it goes a way forward to improve on our creativity.
Presentation of the checks to these beneficiaries will help contribute to the growth of the industry in the state, as well as the gross domestic product, GDP, of the country.
Talking business news now, the World Bank International Monetary Fund, the United Nations World Food Programme and the World Trade Organization have called for an urgent, coordinated action on food security and appealed to countries to avoid banning food or fertilizer exports. Leaders of the 4 institutions in a unanimous statement warned that the war in Ukraine is adding to pressures from the COVID-19 crisis, climate change and increased fragility and conflict threatening millions of people worldwide. Now, they note that the compounding crisis could also fuel social tensions in many of the affected countries, especially those that are already fragile or affected by conflict. The 4 leaders, however, call on the international community to provide emergency food supplies to vulnerable countries, boost agricultural production, and also keep trade flows open. And now the Senate and the House of Representatives are set to pass the revised 2022 fiscal framework of the federal government. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, made this known after the report of the Committee on Finance was stepped down today for consideration at plenary early Wednesday. Majority Leader Yahaya Abdullahi, who moved a motion for the report to be stepped down, maintains that the consideration should be deferred to today to allow lawmakers make their inputs. The House is also expected to pass the 2022 budget of the Nigeria Customs Service today as the National Assembly goes on a break for Easter and Ramadan holidays. Now, it would be recalled that President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier written to the Senate and House to say that the deficit in the 2022 Appropriation Act has risen by 965.42 billion naira to hit 7.35 trillion naira, adding that the federal government would also borrow funds to fill the gap, thereby calling for the amendment of the federal government's budget and the fiscal framework for this year. And still staying with Nigeria's economy, the economy recorded slow growth in the month of February, and that's according to the latest report from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The CBN's Monetary Policy Committee report showed that in February, the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index recorded slow growth, with the non-manufacturing PMI also contracting. The committee, however, notes that although the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index remains above the 50 index point benchmark in February 2022, it moderated slightly to 50.1 index point from the 51.4 index point which was earlier recorded at the start of the year in January. According to the committee, the sustained positive performance in the manufacturing PMI reflects the resilience of the Nigerian economy in light of persistent headwinds to the recovery. The committee also urges the fiscal authorities to seek innovative ways of addressing the current critical supply-side challenges confronting the economy to enable an unhindered transmission of the entire recently deployed fiscal and monetary stimulus to the real economy. And now in maritime-related matters, port traders have been asked to align with the new digital culture to fast-track port processes. The Comptroller, Tinkan Island Custom Command, also says that trade is being facilitated by leveraging on a scaled-up data ecosystem to enhance risk management procedures at the port. TVC News correspondent Ifeanyi has the details.
Mindful of the mandate of facilitating trade, generating revenue and enforcement of import and export guidelines, Comptroller Adekunle Oloyede highlights the continuous risk management mechanisms deployed in identifying areas of leakage. Giving an account of the command's first quarter activities, he reveals that 135.4 billion naira was generated from import duties and taxes, recording an increase of 22.7 billion naira above collections made within the same period in 2021. Export tonnage also witnessed a significant increase.
Comparatively, between January to March 2021 and 2022, the tonnage of goods exported through the command increased from 44,502.9 metric tons to 71,014 metric tons, representing an increase of 62.67%. The FOB value in naira of the above-mentioned tonnage also increased from 31.3 billion to 56.2 billion, representing an increase of 55.82% within the period under review.
Showcasing the import contraventions, Comptroller Oloyede reveals that many of the seized items were falsely declared. He, however, expressed worry at the importation of several containers of machetes without an end-user certificate.
The importation must come with a permit from the Office of the National Security Advisor, and that permit is called end-user certificate, so that we can know who and who will use this, and we can be able to follow up because of the security of the country. Right now, we have 8 containers lined. I can't imagine the farm that they will use, and in each one has about 30 pieces. 30 pieces, and they are not blank. They are ready to use.
Another point of note is that the non-implementation of the extant laws guiding uncleared cargoes is still posing huge challenges to the service. Ifeanyi Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
And now shifting focus to the international front, Asian shares tracked Wall Street higher today, while U.S. Treasury yields eased and the dollar retreated as the latest U.S. data raised hopes that inflation may be close to peaking. though several major central banks raised rates aggressively. Share market sentiment received a boost from China's announcement late on Wednesday that authorities should cut banks' reserve requirement ratios soon to support an economy battered by COVID-19 lockdowns. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan rose 0.4%, buoyed by a 0.5% gain in Australia's resource-heavy shares and a 1.2% advance in mainland China's blue-chip stocks. Japan's Nikkei was up 1.2%, and the European markets are also set to open higher, with Euro Stock 50 futures up 0.56%, German DAX futures rising 0.56% as well, and London's FTSE futures gaining 0.24% in Asia trade. S&P 500 futures rose 0.2%, and Nasdaq Composite futures were up 0.4%. Russian companies and global banks including BNY Mellon, Deutsche Bank, Citigroup and JP Morgan could profit if Moscow moves to delist Russian companies' depository receipts from foreign exchanges, according to local reports. The potential windfall is due to the fees that bank issuers of depository receipts can contractually charge investors when they cancel the product. It is unclear how much companies and banks could make, or if banks will charge the fees, and risk angering investors who say it would be unfair given the extraordinary circumstances which have been triggered by the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Assailed by Western sanctions, Moscow is now preparing to delist Russian company depository receipts from foreign exchanges and convert them into local Russian securities in a bid to reduce foreigners' control over these companies. If Moscow delays Russian depository receipts, bank will have to cancel the products, and bank could still charge the fees, even though their hand was forced, according to some local sources. And now, China's explicit call to cut the amount of cash banks set aside as reserves and boost lending has advanced expectations for imminent policy easing. But economists say any credit loosening may not be enough to beat back the prospect of a deep economic downtrend. Growth in the world's second largest economy has slowed since early 2021 as traditional engines of the economy such as real estate and consumption faltered. Exports, the last major growth driver, also showing signs of fatigue. More recently, widespread disruptions to activity from China's biggest COVID-19 outbreak since 2020 and tough lockdown measures have tilted the odds towards a recession, a few economists even say. Now on Wednesday, the State Council said after a meeting that monetary policy tools, including cuts in banks' reserve requirement ratios, should be used in a timely way. In the last two rounds of RRR cuts in 2021, the respective announcements of the easing were made 2 to 3 days after they were flagged by the State Council. Wrapping up business news now, oil prices on the international market slipped today amid thin trading volumes ahead of a public holiday as traders weigh a larger than expected build in U.S. oil stocks against tightening global supplies. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded now a price decline of 1.10% to hit $103.10 per barrel. Brent crude now sells at $107.80 per barrel, registering a downward price decline of about 0.93%. Bonelite's performance is also sustaining its greenish outlook, however, with a price surge of 6.92% selling at $101.90 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $106 per barrel, recording an increase in price of 1.54%.